This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. With your host, Tyson Gifford and William Roerick. Episode 120, recorded August 10th, 2017. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host, the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime here at TVE, William Roerick.
Hello.
So, today we are going to be talking about Twin Peaks and Game of Thrones, as usual. But first, we have some news stories to go over. Just a few. So, first off, this is just kind of good news. Not a lot to say about it, but Glow was renewed for season 2.
I'm happy about that. Glow was a great show. The first season was excellent. So I'm happy to hear that Netflix renewed it.
Glow kind of ended. The first season kind of ended like right as it was getting started. You know? It's like, right. Things are finally moving, and it's like, no, it's over.
Like the first season, the entire first season was the lead up to, was basically how they established it and got it running.
Yeah.
By the end of the season, not to spoil
it ended with them having finished the first episode. Yeah.
With them. So now that they've actually got the product out there, it'll be interesting to see how the story evolves from that point. So I'm glad Netflix renewed this and not canceled it there, because that would have been disappointing.
Yeah. Another kind of big story for us here, because of the way our fandom leans. Bryan Fuller has tweeted out that conversations have officially started for a fourth Hannibal season.
I'm not getting too excited over this. It's easy to go over the moon. Like this is good. I'm not downplaying. This is good news. But these are just conversations, and anything can still happen. They can lead nowhere, or they can lead to a new season of Hannibal. The good news is that Bryan Fuller is clearly still committed to pursuing this. I hope it happens. I really do. But like I said,
I think there's actually a pretty good chance, just because what was holding it up is that NBC canceled it, and NBC had the rights to it after the point in which the season finale for season 3 aired. So now that's passed. Like it's been 2 years now. So now they can start like negotiating rights with other companies. We know Starz is really happy with Bryan Fuller, with what they've done with American Gods. They've been really happy about that.
Would pick up Hannibal?
Well, Bryan Fuller mentioned that as a possibility before, saying that Starz has been working with him, and it might be a great place for Hannibal.
I think Starz would.
I'm not sure how the streaming rights go right now.
I think Starz would go for it. Starz seems to be seems to be more hungry for that premium content than most other providers.
There's also still the possibility of Netflix. The holdup for Netflix is the streaming rights, which were held over for
Amazon,
right? Through NBC. Rights? So I'm not sure when Amazon's rights, exclusive rights for the streaming of Hannibal end.
Amazon passed because they couldn't produce a new season right away back when that happened. So I don't think Amazon's still out, unless Amazon had a change of heart about that. I don't think they're in the running. Amazon doesn't seem to really care one way or another.
The most likely candidate is Starz.
Right. I think if anybody's going to pick it up, it's going to end up being Starz. I'd be surprised. Maybe like a dark horse, like HBO or AMC. But if it does happen, I'd put my money on Starz.
Starz seems the most likely because of their current relationship with Bryan Fuller. That seems like it's something that would work out well. Also, I think that the De Laurentiis family has ties to, which just got merged with Starz, I believe. Or no, it was Lionsgate or something like that. I don't know. But I think there's some other connections to De Laurentiis and Starz now because of that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So that could help as well, because they're the ones that own the rights for adaptation material. And they want it to happen. Martha De Laurentiis is very eager to get it going. She's the one kind of in negotiation right now to try to figure it out. And then, Bryan Fuller just kind of is in the loop on that. last piece of news we have is that Netflix has officially bought Miller World, Miller's comic book company. They also do like merchandising and other stuff, but this is an interesting buy because, I mean, right off the bat, you think like, oh, okay, so Netflix is going to adapt his material. Buy the rights.
That seems to be the point of getting the rights to Miller World. You know,
they bought the whole company.
Unless Netflix is going to publish comic books now. Yeah, they bought the whole company, so I guess that means Netflix is publishing comic books. That's so weird.
Netflix is publishing comic books and making toys, and I mean, you have to think that plays into other things too, because if they can start merchandising their own stuff, and they have stuff that's right for merchandising too, like Stranger Things.
So like Miller World's going to publish a Stranger Things comic book.
Yeah, or just do other merchandise
Miller to write
for it. But there's all sorts of possibilities there because of that. Of course, the big one that everyone kind of immediately jumps to, and the one that's the most exciting to talk about, is the fact that Netflix would then have the rights, Miller's comics, you know, except the ones that are through DC or Marvel or whatever.
Yeah, the ones that are owned by
DC. They can't like just go, we're going to do our version of Civil War, you know?
Yeah.
And they can't, you know, and there's
the Defenders
rights licensed away.
They're going to do
and there's already rights licensed away for, there's already rights licensed away for some of Miller's works, like, Kingsman and Kick-Ass.
Pretty much like almost all of his, stuff, like his major comics have already been adapted into a film, one film or another. There's like very few that I can think of that still don't have film adaptations. Like, yeah, not much is coming to mind. Again, he wrote this, he has this insane comic about like some evil Batman type character, but I can't for the life of me remember what the name of it is, that they can do.
Yeah. And we know 3 of his big ones are already licensed out. That's Wanted, Kingsman, and Kick-Ass.
Right.
Licensed out. So he can't, like, Netflix can't do anything with those unless the rights are set to expire. This also doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do TV shows based on that, which is what we cover here on the podcast and here at this TVEnthusiast.com. That could be movies, because Netflix does movies too.
Yeah, Netflix does their own movies.
Coming up soon. Like Bright with Will Smith. There's a movie. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. The other thing is it could just be a partnership in which instead of adapting comic, it could just be a new Mark Miller like script or project.
You could write something original to Netflix.
Yeah. It's interesting. It kind of, it falls in line with what Netflix is already doing with Marvel as like a comic book property kind of thing. And we know that there's been a little bit, here's another piece of news I didn't put on the show notes, but it's relevant here, which is that Disney's going to pull its content back from, Netflix and launch their own streaming service. Yeah. So this could be anticipation of that, but it seems like the deal's not ending for Defenders and all of the Marvel Netflix shows. Like that's not ending.
Right. The Marvel deal was actually a separate deal from the Disney deal. So it doesn't really affect doesn't really affect the Marvel deal, because those were 2 separate
But
deals.
It will affect things like the Marvel movies that show up on Netflix.
Right.
If that's the case, then this could be a good opportunity for Netflix to fill that gap. Like, we've lost Captain America Civil War and Guardians of the Galaxy and all this stuff on Netflix. So now we're going to kind of create our own.
Based on a Mark Miller comic book.
Yeah. So now we can kind of create our own movies or shows to fill that gap, in there. So yeah, so it's definitely a lot of interesting possibilities from this deal.
Right, exactly. A lot of interesting possibilities, possibility. It's pretty exciting. I want to comment, the Disney thing it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean,
I think
Disney will probably be successful with whatever they come out with, like good for Disney, but like everybody having their own streaming service is a freaking disaster. These companies
here's the way I see this, and I wrote a message on this, I think on like Reddit or something when the news first came out, which is that it's sad for us it makes all kinds of sense.
Right.
It owns a lot of stuff, you know? And like the sheer amount of content they own is massive, and it's enough to run a streaming service on.
Oh yeah, they're
the
like,
problem when you look at things like,
freaking, like, they're like freaking Galactus of the entertainment industry. They just like devour entertainment companies and incorporate their IP into their empire. So yeah,
like, without even getting into Disney's own like original content, like their animated movies and all that stuff and their TV shows, because remember they have the Disney Channel and all those shows that are geared towards kids that we don't even know the names of. Besides all of that stuff, all the Hannah Montanas and other stuff like that, you have all of Marvel and all of Star Wars.
Yeah, you got Star Wars, all Lucasfilm. You have all of Disney Animated Studios, Pixar, ABC.
ABC is owned by them too.
ESPN.
Also they can put
which
sports
ESPN
content on.
Sports content is probably going to be. I'm pretty sure sports content is going to be spun off to its own streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But ESPN has done like documentaries and stuff too that could show up there. Owns a lot of stuff. It makes so much sense for them. Back when all these companies like CBS and stuff started spinning off and doing their own streaming services, I agree that it's kind of stupid and doesn't really work. Disney's an exception. And the other exceptions would be if companies put out stuff for their entire branding of their content companies rather than from a single channel. So like NBC doing it doesn't make sense. Universal doing it does. Because Universal has all the Universal movies, NBC, Sci-Fi, Bravo, USA, everything on all of those channels, plus Universal's entire lineup of movies.
Right.
Huge. That's a massive thing. They could launch their own streaming service. Unfortunately, what they've done instead is like, let's make a comedy only service called CISO only, and that's going under now. That's being like, I think they're moving that content over somewhere else now. But yeah, like doing it by these individual channels for a streaming service isn't a good idea. Doing it for like a production company that has like massive rights is a good idea. Immediately where to go. You're like, oh, is this from Universal? Yes. Oh, I know where to go now. It's Universal streaming, you know? And then you have everything there that's from Universal. It makes a lot of sense, and that would work. That would be like a worthy purchase. And the fear of this direction, which is happening now, is exactly why Netflix started making so much of their own content in the first place.
Right.
So it all makes sense when you look at it that way.
It makes sense, but still, the market, I don't think the market can support every entertainment company having its own streaming service. It's no, like.
There's only a few content companies though. Like I said, if you go away from channels and go to content companies, there's not that many.
Yeah, but these companies, like, they want you to subscribe to CISO. They want you to subscribe to the
exactly. That's the problem.
Yeah. HBO, like HBO,
like
Showtime,
HBO is
Cinemax.
Time Warner. So what would be interesting is if an HBO Go subscription or HBO Now subscription also gave you Cinemax, because they own Cinemax as well.
Right.
And both HBO and Cinemax are owned by Time Warner, not Time Warner Cable, but the Time Warner content company. Warner Brothers, so that would be CW. That would be, there's like other things that can be wrapped up into that, Like, what if Warner Brothers, if Time Warner had their own streaming service and it was all HBO, it was all Cinemax, it was everything from Warner Brothers TV, which you have to remember with Warner Brothers TV, it's not just what shows up on the CW, tons of other content that shows up on other channels too, that they would have the rights to. So, and then you'd have all of the Warner Brothers like movies, the Batman and Superman, all of that stuff, which isn't necessarily great, but they're big movies. So if you think of it that way rather than individual channels, there aren't that many content companies, There's Viacom, Time Warner, Comcast, Disney. Those are kind of like the big ones. Those are connected too, I think. Like Comcast owns Universal, I think. So that's like kind of separate. Like you don't have to have them separate there. The problem is if they try to keep them separate and divided and go. And for this streaming service that only has shows that aired on NBC. And then this is a separate streaming service that only has shows that aired on Sci-Fi, where it becomes tricky.
Right.
But let's move on from the news and let's talk about what we've been watching this past week, which is Twin Peaks and Game of Thrones. Let's start off with Twin Peaks.
Yes.
This episode had a bunch of different things going on. We're kind of grouping them into like kind of specific storyline sections to talk about. But first off, Mr. C has finally found Ray, the man who shot him and left him for dead, who Mr. C should have died, but came and rescued him.
The woodsman rescued him.
Mr. C is like for Ray now. He gets there. He's at this base for this guy named Renzo, who's like the boss of this group.
It's like the group I guess Ray works for. So Mr. C is coming to get Ray. That Renzo, Ray, and the group ambushes him, and then they tell Mr. C that he has to arm wrestle Renzo, who's this like big dude, and and he always wins. Nobody's beating him at arm wrestling.
That's how you determine who the boss is.
That's how you determine who the boss is. Yeah, an arm wrestling. It's
concept. Right?
It's so ridiculous, especially because it's so random. Like this guy. Like Mr. C was coming to kill Ray, so shouldn't they just kill him instead of challenging him to an arm wrestling? But what doesn't matter. You can guess how this turns out.
Mr. C ends up winning in a really kind of funny, ridiculous way, because there's no way that Kyle MacLachlan is as strong as this guy that he set it up against. But he just kind of like natural I guess, abilities.
yeah, there's no way. But I guess it's because like Mr. C is supernatural that he overpowers Renzo.
Yeah. He's just playing with Renzo the whole time. Like, he's letting Renzo pull his arm all the way down to one side and then saying, "Oh, let's go back to resting position." Yeah. And
he's saying, "Doesn't that hurt? Isn't that uncomfortable?" And he's like,
"It's much more comfortable in the resting position."
Yeah.
And then finally he wins. He snaps Renzo's arm when he wins.
And then he punches him in the face.
And then he punches,
caves his face in.
His face, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a mess.
So Renzo's dead, and now Mr. C is boss. He's decided he doesn't want these people as his underlings, but he wants Ray. Everybody says, I want some time to talk alone to Ray. And so everybody leaves.
More specifically, he wants information from Ray.
Yeah. And everyone's watching on like surveillance cameras, like on a giant screen they have in their lobby or whatever.
Right.
And so they're all watching as Mr. C is interrogating Ray. One of the people who joins them and watching is Richard Horn, who disappeared now that he's being hunted by the law.
Who's apparently part of this group.
Yeah. So the gang's watching, Richard's watching, Mr. C's interrogating Ray. We find out that Ray was hired by Philip Jeffries, who is David Bowie's character from Fire Walk With Me.
Yep, David Bowie's FBI agent.
And he says he was supposed to put a ring on Mr. C's finger after he killed him.
Well, he sure forgot to do that in episode 8, didn't he? Yeah, he got freaked out.
And so he didn't do that. He asked about Major Briggs, and he says he doesn't know anything about Major Briggs. He asked where Jeffries is, and he says he's at the Dutchman's. He said it's some made-up place doesn't exist. And Mr. C says, "I know where that place is."
Yeah, I know where that place is. And then Mr. C asks for the coordinates. I guess he gives him the coordinates he's looking for. And then Mr. C shoots Ray, kills him, and then takes the ring and puts it on Ray. And then Ray's dead body transports to the Black Lodge.
Well, it's like first the ring disappeared, and then the body, and they ended up in the Black Lodge.
So I guess
it's the same ring that we've seen a bunch of times. This is the same ring that was on Dougie's finger.
Oh yeah, it was.
And then he went to the Black Lodge. This has been used a few times, I guess. So
I guess it's an item to transport things to the Black Lodge, or I guess
like the dead.
So I guess the idea Philip Jeffries has was to kill Mr. C and put the ring on him to transport him and trap him back into Black Lodge.
We don't even know for sure if it's Philip Jeffries because the guy never even met him. Like Ray never even met him.
Yeah, we don't know.
We just talked to him. So it could be somebody using his name. It seems like there's another Philip who's in the Black Lodge, the one-armed man, who seems like he could be a likely candidate to be doing this.
For obvious reasons, whether actually Philip Jeffries or not, he won't be making an appearance.
They could do it in the same way they did for Major Briggs or
that's true. They
Bob.
could use archival footage.
Yeah, and like superimpose it and do stuff because they've done a few interesting things with that to like show Bob's face and to show Major Briggs.
Major Briggs' face. Yeah, that's true.
So they could do something like that, but they don't have any new footage of him.
No, they don't.
Because unfortunately David Bowie passed away before he could film. He was signed on to be in the series, but he passed away before.
Yeah, Philip Jeffries was supposed to make an actual appearance, but David Bowie passed on before filming began, so that was nixed.
Yeah.
So that's why, I think that's probably why Philip Jeffries plays into the plot, because David Bowie was supposed to appear.
I think what they'll end up doing is that it won't actually be Philip Jeffries, it's just somebody using his name.
Right.
And I think it'll probably be the other Philip, the one-armed man from the Black Lodge.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
He was doing it using Philip Jeffries' name or something like that.
That's possible, yeah, definitely.
So next up, we had a very short scene with Tim Roth and Jennifer Jason Leigh's characters, the Hutchins.
Yes.
That just assassinated the prison warden. All we learned from this is that they're driving. We know where they're going because Mr. C told them where to go. They're going towards Vegas.
Right.
Presumably to kill Duncan Todd and, I don't know, somebody else. Maybe they said it was 2 people, so it's either it's planned that it's Duncan Todd and Cooper, under the guise of Dougie, or it's Duncan Todd and his man at Dougie's work. Dougie's coworker that works for Duncan Todd. It's supposed to be a 2-hit thing that they're contracted on there. But that's the only thing we got from their scene. It's kind of a useless scene, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
We also had another relatively useless scene where Becky is worried about Steven, her husband, and he's been missing for 2 days, and she's talking to her mom, Shelley, on the phone, who just convinces her to come to the diner and eat pie with her.
Yeah.
Was a scene too.
I guess all we got is Steven is... And there was another useless scene between Nadine and Dr. Jacoby, where it's just basically Nadine showing Jacoby her shovel that she bought from him and her runners, and basically they reminisce, and nothing important happens that scene. There's nothing in the dialogue that's even important or points to anything.
There's possibly one thing, which is just that Russ said the last time he saw her there was a storm.
Yeah.
And he was acting kind of cryptic when he said it, so maybe that's something that will play in later.
Oh, maybe. I guess that flew over my head.
Yeah. But as of now, there's nothing.
Yeah. So there was that.
Scenes.
It's a lot of them this episode.
Yeah. We see Sarah Palmer. She's watching a loop from a boxing match that just keeps repeating itself over and over.
That's the entire scene, actually. There's no dialogue.
Yeah, there's just a dialogue from the boxing match. And then there's some kind of a buzzing happening in the house, though.
I noticed the buzzing occurs at each loop most of the time. I don't think it's not 100%, but like each time the boxing tape loops, that buzz happens. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a little off from that, though. Like
it was a little off from that. It was 100%, but I don't know if that was supposed to be coming from the TV.
I have to imagine that it's something. Otherwise, that was a completely useless scene.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We also had another scene with Audrey and her husband Charlie. Basically, just a continuation of their last scene.
Only this
shorter and
because all of a sudden, Audrey doesn't remember what she was doing. Like the last time you saw her, she was going to the roadhouse and she was demanding her husband go with her. And in this episode, she seems confused, and her husband has to tell her that she was going to the roadhouse.
Yeah, that he's going to take her to the roadhouse, and he mentioned something about existentialism because she doesn't know if she's real or not, and
this is really pointing out. This is like heavily hinting at maybe the Audrey stuff isn't real. Like you can speculate because the last thing we knew of Audrey is she was in a coma, so maybe this is all happening in her coma.
Yeah, we have no idea what's going on with this, but what's happening here seems to lend credence to the theory from last week, which is that, this isn't real.
Right.
The boyfriend that she's cheating on her husband with, all that stuff is not real.
Right. Because if you compare and contrast it with the last scene, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows where she's going. She's being very assertive. And then in this scene, she's all, it seems to continue continue directly from the last scene, except now she's all confused. She doesn't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it's not like, in the way it's framed, it doesn't look like a lot of time passed between the two scenes. So people usually don't have like weird memory lapses like that, or, that shit, like, that shit happens in a dream.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So maybe this is her coma dream that we're seeing.
The kind of the biggest kind of event scene in this episode, which is Dougie and the Mitchums, along with their hostesses from the casino, are doing a strange conga line into
they're doing a conga. They're celebrating. It's not strange. They're just happy that
it's the music they're playing as they're doing it.
I love the music. The music is strange. I loved it. This was a great way to open the episode, in my opinion.
They're coming into the office. The Mitchums are just still enthralled with Dougie and excited about everything.
Happy that they're just bestowing gifts upon Dougie Boss. They give him a car and stars. They say Dougie's getting a car as well, a matching one. Yep, they gave Dougie a car. They gave Dougie's son, a playground set for, is really generous. The other insurance agent,
Anthony is his name. Yeah, he's freaking out as he's seeing.
He's freaking out because he set the Mitchums up to kill Dougie, and clearly that didn't happen. So
instead they come in a conga
line. So he's kind of freaking out that he failed. He contacts his, the guy he's working for in Vegas.
Duncan Todd,
yes. And Duncan Todd, basically tells him he has 24 hours to kill Dougie,
Yeah.
He has to do it himself now.
Anthony's a bit of a sad sack. He doesn't know what to do. He's kind of freaking out. He visits a corrupt cop that's also tied to Duncan Todd as well, and that whole agency. So he visits a corrupt cop and figures out a poison that he can use.
Right.
To kill Dougie. And so, of course, if you're going to kill Dougie, what's the way to do it? You invite him out for coffee.
Right. Dougie loves coffee. This should be a slam dunk, right? Like, this should be, he sits down with Dougie in the coffee, and, Dougie takes a sip of the coffee, everything's going well, and then Dougie gets distracted by the cherry pie in the pie shop, and, Anthony uses this distraction to slip the poison into Dougie's coffee. Although this is where it gets weird, because when Dougie is coming back from the pie shop, Dougie sees Anthony's back, and he sees like this white crap all over the back of his jacket.
His dandruff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, his dandruff or something. He sees it, and he starts rubbing Anthony's shoulders, or doing something, and for whatever reason, this causes Anthony to completely break down and call off his plan. Completely, and just confess everything. Like he has a complete 180 change of heart over everything, just because.
He said apparently he hasn't been sleeping for like a week or something, and this has been haunting him. And he finally he talks to their boss, Mr. Bushnell, and says, "Turn evidence on Duncan Todd." And that he's so happy that Dougie stopped him from having a murder on his back.
Right. He's happy Dougie prevented him from going through with it by touching his shoulders, I guess.
The car that Cooper got or Dougie got is delivered at her house, as well as the jungle gym for her son Sonny.
Yeah,
he loves his ridiculous jungle gym.
He really loves it,
and it is really ridiculous.
It's got lights and everything. And
it's got a big searchlight moving back and forth over it. It's a long scene of Sonny Jim just like jumping and playing all over its jungle gym for a very long time.
Yeah, for a very long time. They linger on that for a while. So Dougie's wife is very happy with him. So everything's going well for Dougie.
Everything's coming up roses, yeah.
Yeah, everything's coming up roses.
Of course, he's got two assassins headed towards him, so who knows how long that's going to continue, or when things are going to go wrong, or if it'll just go right in another way, just like it did with the Spike.
Yeah. I think it'll go right again. Unless Dougie suddenly gets his wits back and becomes.
So something I forgot to put in the notes here that's also kind of relevant is when Anthony had gone to the police station to talk to the corrupt cop there. Before he did, we saw that group of cops, like the one that laughs like all weird all the time.
Yeah.
They were talking about Dougie, yeah.
They ran the prints on Dougie and found out that he's Dale Cooper and that he's also he also has same prints as Mr. C. So like it says he's a missing FBI agent and he also escaped from prison recently. and of course that doesn't they obviously know Dougie didn't just escape from prison and is an insurance salesman and not an FBI agent. So they just like laugh that off as being like ridiculously wrong and they just take prints and they throw them out.
Good news there though is that if the prints are run, it goes into the system, which means it's this should alert and Albert.
Yes, hopefully.
So we should be getting that soon. Hopefully, I mean, there's only 5 episodes left.
Yeah. Let's see. We see a scene in the R diner. What's her name?
Bobby's eating with Ed and Norma.
Yep, Ed and Norma. Norma meets with this guy. Apparently it's a business meeting. They're going over their business. Her franchises are doing well.
They're kind of like a romantic interest as well.
Yeah. It definitely.
Which is sad because you see Ed kind of not, being courteous to this business partner, but clearly not liking him very much.
Yeah, clearly because
this is our first time seeing Ed on the new show.
Yeah, this is our first time seeing Ed. Ed's back for a first time, and yeah, Ed sees this guy, and he doesn't like this guy for obvious reasons. This guy is, he seems like a shark.
And he's talking to Norma, this other guy, and he's talking about how the main location of this franchise they have, because now they have a franchise for her, charges less, cost more to make the pies and stuff, and doesn't have Norma in the name of the restaurant.
Right. And Norma says, they're pies because Norma uses higher quality ingredients than some of her franchisees. And yeah, her diner doesn't have her name in it. She's reluctant to make those changes. And that's basically how that scene breaks down.
So how did you like watching James perform at the Roadhouse?
Yeah, saw James. James shows up again after like his 5-second cameo earlier in the season, just to have like just have Vachinomic like talk about how dreamy he is or something. He's still dreamy. Yeah, it was cool seeing James. He was singing an original composition written by David Lynch himself. This wasn't like a pre-existing song he was singing, or maybe it was, but the credits say it was in the previous.
It was in the previous season of Twin Peaks.
It wasn't it?
Our series when it was, remember, because it was him. They had that weird scene, remember, where like for no reason, with no hint that they did music at all or anything, all of a sudden him and Laura's cousin Maddie and at the time I think it was Shelley. Not Shelley.
Who was the girl that she kept looking at him like long, and they kept
I don't know.
This girl who kept like staring at James like getting all emotional and crap, like this was really meaningful to her, and I'm like, I don't even know who that is or what her connection to James is. So like
I'm not sure who it is, but this is the same song that James sang with Maddie and I think Donna.
Yeah.
And they were looking for Laura and stuff, and then all of a sudden they were recording a song in a house, and we were like laughing about how ridiculous it was with his high-pitched voice. And
yeah, with his high-pitched voice. And here it is again, James in his high-pitched voice singing that ridiculous song.
So it's kind of funny, but then you get through the end of it, and the credits don't roll.
No, which I thought the credits would roll, but instead it switches to Ed at his gas station. And
all alone by himself.
All alone by himself. And again, this is a scene, nothing happens, but the credits roll over this scene.
Yeah. And he's just looks depressed and miserable.
Yeah.
You gotta feel bad for him, because you gotta remember, like, how he was in love with Norma in the first series.
Right.
But at the time he was married to Nadine, and there was all this stuff going on with that.
Yeah, but now him and Nadine are separated, and he still can't get Norma. Poor Ed.
Let's move on now. Let's talk about Game of Thrones. We're gonna be talking about episode 4 of season 7.
Yes.
Spoils of War. We already did a video where we talked about Arya Stark returning to Winterfell and everything kind of connected to that. We'll touch on that again, but we're mostly going to be talking about everything else that happened in the episode, including a spectacular ending.
Basically, the spectacular ending, other than the Arya stuff, is pretty much the bulk of the notable things that happened. There were some smaller scenes in the episode.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that built up to that. Jon showed Daenerys the caves where they're going to be mining the dragon glass.
Where they're going to be mining the dragon glass. Yep. Again,
there's markings from the children of the forest in the caves that show.
Well, that show the White Walkers and how they banded together against the White Walkers.
The children of the forest and the first man. Banded together. So Jon shows Daenerys all of this stuff. It's kind of a touching moment in them. It's the last time we saw Jon go into a cave with a girl. It had a different thing happen.
This happen here. If anybody was expecting that to happen, again, Daenerys asks Jon to bend the knee. Again, Jon refuses.
Jon's finally kind of illustrating why he's not, which isn't necessarily because he wouldn't do it for her, so much as because he doesn't think his people will accept it.
Right.
Daenerys actually throws a line back at Jon, which is exactly what Jon had said to Mance Rayder earlier in the series when the wildlings were attacking the wall.
Right.
Isn't their survival more important than your pride?
Yeah.
And this is what Daenerys is saying to Jon now. Like, you want my help, you bend the knee and I'll give you my help.
Right.
Their survival from this threat and the help I can give you more important than your own pride. Of course, I think it's not that simple. For Jon, it's not so much a matter of his pride. It's a matter of that he doesn't think will follow him. And he's already been betrayed by his men. Not these men, but like...
Yeah, he doesn't think they'll follow him. If he does that, he's afraid that they'll turn on him, just like the Night's Watch turned on him.
Yes.
I think he really has that fear inside of that happening. So he is very reluctant to bend the knee to Daenerys, and even Daenerys during speech doesn't bring that about, that Daenerys actually parts from Jon without Jon having bent the knee yet. Whether he will do that or not, we will see.
After this scene in the cave between Jon and Daenerys finally gets talked to by Tyrion, who tells her that Castle Rock, they've taken it. She's like, "Oh, that's good."
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah,
and then comes the bad news, which is that they lost Highgarden and Olenna.
This causes Daenerys to lose faith in Tyrion, like pretty hardcore. Like,
she's upset. She recites something Olenna said, which is, no more clever plans.
Yeah.
She wants to take the dragons to King's Landing and rain fire down. Tyrion
is saying, that's a bad idea, and she's saying, why the hell should I listen to you? Maybe you're just trying to protect your family. She's not taking advice from Tyrion. And then suddenly, out of the blue, she asks Jon for his advice.
Jon says that if she burns down cities and kills all these citizens, she's no different than her father.
Right. He rightly points out that he rightly points out that Daenerys gained her power, gained her status by basically being a person that the people loved, that the people flocked to, and she has their undying loyalty. Jon is talking to her assistant. I can't think names. Missandei, yes. Thank you. Yeah. Jon and Davos are talking to Missandei about Daenerys, and why does she support Daenerys and stuff. And you can see she genuinely loves Daenerys. She's loyal to her for genuine reasons, and not just because of money or because of Daenerys' status or any superficial reason, but because Daenerys saved her. And so when Daenerys is talking about taking dragons and burning down King's Landing, Jon points out, that just makes her the Mad King all over again. And she didn't get to where she is currently by being the Mad King. She got to where she is by being a hero of the people.
Yeah. So then over with Jaime is with Bronn and Randall Tarley and Dickon. hit Dickon's name right.
Yeah.
He's been calling him Rickon constantly. Bronn kind of cracks up over this.
Oh, yeah.
For those who forget, Rickon is the name of the youngest Stark who was killed by Ramsay Bolton. So,
very sad.
So he's mixing it up with an actual other name. That's not completely off, but this confusion. Randall Tarley's talking about like beating the farmers to get them to cooperate, and Jaime's encouraging a lighter touch. He wants Bronn to, quote, encourage the farmers to get their up. And Bronn's complaining to Jaime about the fact that Jaime still owes him a castle. And he's like, why can't I have that castle? Highgarden, we just took a castle. And
he's like, you don't want that. Daenerys and her forces are going to come right for Highgarden, pretty much. And you'll have that castle for like 10 minutes, is Jaime's argument. Jaime
getting frustrated.
Bronn's getting frustrated. Jaime tells Bronn to wait until the war is over, and then he'll have his choice of any castle he wants, and with nobody to take it away from him. Basically is Jaime's argument.
The Lannisters have been really heavily promising, just wait till after the war recently.
yeah, pretty much, right? That's their answer to every request. Wait till after the war is over. With their assurances that they're going to win the war and it's all going to be cool.
Bronn's just kind of like getting a little bit fed up with that, but that's it for that scene. So stuff we mostly talked about in our video. For the full details on that, just go to our YouTube channel, our site, TVEnthusiast.com, and look up, I believe the video is titled, The Lone Wolf Rejoins the Pack.
Yes.
Yeah, rejoining her siblings. To kind of summarize what happened again very quickly, Littlefinger gave the cat's paw dagger, the Valyrian steel dagger to Bran. Winterfell, Sansa seems to be a little bit concerned about Arya, the same way she was with Bran, and the way they're just kind of gone on this mystical path that she doesn't kind of understand. Siblings are reunited. Bran gives Arya the cat's paw dagger.
Right.
The one thing we didn't really talk about from that scene, I don't think, in the video, was that Bran said goodbye to Mira.
We didn't mention Mira. No, I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, Bran said goodbye. It wasn't a happy goodbye. Like Mira is like, okay, this is goodbye, right? And Bran is sort of, he's emotionless completely about it.
Yeah, he's just like, well, bye.
Yep, bye. And this hurts Mira deeply because they've been through so much. She cared so deeply for Bran, and she thought Bran felt the same. And now it's looking like, and now he's being like so blasé about it, like she can't comprehend it,
Yeah. Bran's just like, doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just doesn't, he doesn't have time for all the emotions. He's the Three-Eyed Raven now.
And Mira leaves concluding that Bran did die.
In the cave, yeah.
In the cave.
That this isn't Bran anymore, or that the Bran she knew is gone. After that, Arya had her duel with Brienne. Again, we talked about that a lot in our video. And we also talked about how Sansa seems to be concerned, possibly a little bit jealous of her siblings now.
Perhaps, maybe.
But that's pretty much it for that scene. If you want bigger details on that, we do have a video up discussing all of that. You already mentioned Cersei is talking to the Iron Bank. The one thing kind of worth noting here is that she had mentioned some of her plans of what she wants to do. One of the things that she was talking about was possibly hiring the Golden Company, which is a group of mercenaries. This is something that has been mentioned in the show before. And what's interesting is that it was mentioned before as something that Jorah was a part of after he was exiled from Westeros.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you have Jorah has some tie to this Golden Company, and Cersei's trying to recruit the Golden Company to fight against Cersei, who Jorah is going to return
Daenerys.
to. My mistake there, yeah, Daenerys, who Jorah serves.
So Jorah is devoted to Daenerys. So, I mean, we don't know what his ties to
we might get a Braveheart scene.
We don't know what
where the mercenary was supposed to attack the Irish that were supposed to attack the Scottish.
Yeah.
The battlefield and just ended up hugging each other.
Well, we don't know what Jorah's ties to the Golden Company are anymore. He's been so far removed from that this whole time that we really don't know if he even has any influence anymore.
Yeah, I just think it would be funny if we had that Braveheart moment where they all like hug each other in the battlefield.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. But that is an interesting thing. Another thing about the scene with Cersei in the Iron Bank, because it sets up the ending of the episode, really, is that Cersei tells the Iron Bank that she's paying her debt, her considerable debt to them, and how she's paying it is because of the gold they stole from Highgarden after they took it. So after they took Highgarden, they took all their gold and stuff, and Cersei is going to use that to pay her debt to the Iron Bank and get the Iron Bank on her side again, instead, because before they were threatening to back Daenerys.
So then we have another very brief scene at Dragonstone in which Theon comes to shore.
Yes.
And he says that it's abducted and he wants Daenerys' help to rescue her. While this is happening, Jon approaches him to kill him, but what he says is that if it hadn't been for what you did for my sister, I would have killed you right here. That Jon has this kind of like, this mixed feeling towards Theon, because Theon saved his sister, but at the same time, Theon did irreparable harm to his whole family for that. And it's not like they were on good terms when they knew each other before anyways. When they were growing up. Theon was always cruel to Jon, so Jon not too happy to see Theon, not too supportive of Theon, and from killing him because of what he did for Sansa. But Jon and everybody there basically has to tell Theon, well, Daenerys isn't here.
Oh, what a conclusion. What a glorious conclusion.
First off, right off the bat that I want to point out, because I think a lot of people missed it, is that the gold is already at King's Landing. This was stated in this scene.
Oh, okay.
It was past the gate. So all the gold, the caravans that you saw, that's all green.
Oh, I thought she destroyed
the gold's all on King's Landing.
Damn it.
The grain was being sent still. That was the caravan, or as the show called it, the loot train.
Yeah, which is weird to call it a loot train, because do they have trains in Westeros?
No, just because it was a long trail of a caravan.
Yeah. Right.
Forces are moving the grain. Bronn hears something in the distance. He's like, what is that?
Jaime hears it. It's a Dothraki horde.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
A massive Dothraki horde, yeah.
This is when you're like, oh, shit's going down, finally.
And if you remember, there was an I can't remember who said it, but in the first season, I think it was Robert, who said, anybody who faces a Dothraki horde on an open battlefield is a fool.
Right.
Where are they? In the middle of an open field.
Well, they were completely ambushed. They didn't even see this coming.
They have no idea this is coming. They're in the middle of an open field. Here comes the Dothraki forces.
Circling back to the earlier scene, where Theon delivered the bad news to Daenerys. This spurred Daenerys to action. Daenerys was threatening to fly straight to King's Landing and burn it to the ground. Jon talked her out of that, but she was still full of fire and fury, and so she decided she was going to take some kind of action in response, and now we see what her response is to her losses so far.
Overwhelming decimation of Cersei's forces in that region. Just completely one-sided.
Oh yeah, because at first Jaime gets his troops into formation to face the Dothraki. At first that's what they're thinking, that they're gonna have to fight the Dothraki, and they know
it's already a losing fight.
Yeah, they know it's going to be a hard battle, and I think Jaime's preparing himself for severe losses, and just to hope that they can withstand them and escape.
That hope quickly perishes.
Yep, when they see Daenerys flying on her giant dragon.
Drogon, her main dragon.
She comes swooping in with that dragon. When you see that Dothraki horde, and then you see the dragon flying right above it, that was pretty freaking epic. Also the budget for the scene.
The whole scene was epic, yeah. This is gotta be the most expensive.
How much, I am so glad HBO seems to be writing a blank check for this show. Because damn, I think this is probably one of the best military fighting scenes in like any show I've ever seen, possibly even
God,
like
it's up there with any movie I've
ever seen. Yeah, you know, like this was pretty damn impressive. Like especially like with like the dragon, like there was a high chance the CGI could have looked goofy, it could have looked out of place, you know. But it was spot on. They did a real great job rendering the dragon, you know, making it look real, making it look like it fit in the scene. You know, that had to have been difficult of itself, and then you just got all the actors, all the fighters on both sides, huge number of people,
and all the practical effects too. Like there's a lot of fire effects.
Oh yeah, they used a lot of practical effects. Like the fire. I don't think the fire was CG. Like that was real.
Not. It was real fire, and they also did they broke some records for TV for fire. One was that they had 20 stuntmen on fire in one shot, which is higher than they've ever had on TV before. The other is just the amount of fire used throughout the scene is much higher than's ever been used on TV before. So they broke some records with the practical effects with the fire. Yeah. It's tied to the dragons, and then you have all the extras and the forces.
Daenerys breaks.
Yeah, I mean, the Dothraki get a little lost in this.
Oh,
but the Dothraki were fucking amazing too. They were like standing on their horses.
Oh yeah,
this was an amazing scene.
All kinds of amazing shit, you know? Oh yeah, they were amazing. Daenerys easily breaks the Lannister defensive line with her dragon.
It just scorches it. It's crazy.
It scorches it.
Did you see the scene where a few soldiers got roasted by fire, and Jaime looked over and a gust of wind blew and it was just ashes?
Yeah.
Be gone.
Yeah. Jaime at this point is pretty much shitting his pants. You know, he knows that he's not going to win this battle, but thankfully they brought along their dragon killer.
Their scorpion, Ballista.
Yeah, their Ballista. Jaime tells Bronn to get on that and to take out the dragon, you know, because Jaime only has one hand.
So he can't wind it up and use it. Bronn goes, he uses it, he ends up firing 3 shots.
Right.
With this, thing. The first one, he fires at a Dothraki who jumped up on the cart where the weapon was loaded.
Oh yeah.
And impales him against another cart.
Bronn almost dies getting to it, you know. Dothraki almost kills him getting to it. And you know, there was
he loses his gold too.
Yep, he loses his gold. I kept thinking throughout this whole scene, I kept thinking, I bet this is where Bronn bites it. Because they were focusing, like, kind of like, you know, when the scene started in the earlier scene, with Jaime and Bronn, they were kind of focusing on Bronn. Mm-hmm. And like, there's always this thing in like shows, you know, when they focus on a character, and you find it like a little unusual, that, you know, like that's probably like that character's last moments on the show. And I really thought this was it.
Not
for
the
Bronn.
case here.
No,
Bronn,
they didn't go for that here, but it comes close.
Several times. So his second shot was dodged by Drogon.
Oh yeah, and this is when Daenerys gets wind that they've got shit and they're using it to try and kill her dragon. So she turns Drogon around and she attempts to take out the Ballista.
This is when fans of the show are like, "Go away, leave!"
Yeah, pretty much. Like, run away! What are you doing? She's charging headlong for it, which was actually kind of dumb because that just makes it easier for Bronn to hit her, which he does.
Yeah, he does. He hits Drogon. Thankfully, just in the shoulder, fatal. At least not yet. We've seen infection kill in the show before.
We don't know how okay Drogon is, or if Drogon's going to make it. It's hard to say with this show because that could have been a lethal blow.
Yeah, but right now it's not instantaneous. He's still around.
Daenerys does something stupid because instead of just flying back to Dragonstone on Drogon and tending to him there, she just lands him in the middle of the battlefield and attempts to pull the spear out of him. And Jaime,
I don't think Drogon could have flown back to Dragonstone with that.
Maybe, I don't know. She surely could have gotten some distance away from the battlefield. Surely.
Yeah. But she took the time that she could have used to get further away from the battlefield to blow up the Ballista.
Yeah, to blow up the Ballista. She lands Drogon, and she attempts to remove the spear from him, and this leaves her distracted and vulnerable, and Jaime notices her. And Jaime decides he's going to march right up to her and just put his sword through her, and end the war right there.
A lance, because he grabs a lance.
Oh, he has a lance. Yeah.
So he's going full Dragon Slayer mode.
Full Dragon Slayer mode. Tyrion's watching this battle from afar, and Tyrion's watching, and Tyrion sees Jaime approaching Daenerys, and Tyrion's just like, no, you fool, don't do that.
He's like, just run away, leave.
Just run away. Yeah, just run away, leave. Because when Jaime approaches Daenerys, Drogon sees him and attempts to roast Jaime. In fact, he would have roasted Jaime had Bronn not jumped in and got Jaime out of the way of the fire. Jaime lands in the water. He's unconscious.
Well, he's not unconscious, but he's sinking to the bottom of the lake because remember, he's covered in armor.
He's covered in armor.
And he can't get it off because he only has one hand.
Right. So, and that's actually where we leave the episode. So, Jaime's fate is uncertain at this point because we don't know
Jaime's fate's uncertain. Bronn's fate's uncertain. Bronn seems to be in a better place than Jaime, though.
Yeah, Jaime's in a pretty bad place.
I can't imagine they're going to kill Jaime because Jaime still has the information that Olenna is the one that killed Joffrey, and I think that has to pay off with Cersei.
Yeah, that has to pay off with Cersei. They're not going to give Jaime information like that and then kill him off. So
I think Jaime's going to be fine. But this war is over. This battle is over.
Yeah, this battle is over. Oh yeah, for sure. Daenerys reasserted herself in the war. Like I said, she was taking so many L's that she needed a W at some point.
And she took it in epic fashion.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Like, damn, I think this was one of the things people have been waiting for since the show began. This was definitely something people have been waiting to see since the show began. Just Daenerys on her dragon fucking up Lannisters. That was a promise. We've been promised that from the beginning, and now the show finally delivered.
And boy, did it deliver. I mean, it went beyond expectations.
Yeah, it went beyond, exactly. It was, woo! I was cheering. I was so happy.
I couldn't believe it. Like, you're watching it and it's like, I can't believe this is a TV show. This is
I can't
insane.
This is on television. This is insane. Like, I love HBO for how much money they had to spend on that. I'm glad HBO was crazy enough to spend it.
I mean, we remembered back when season 2 was being made and they did that battle at Blackwater Bay.
Right.
Then that one battle was supposed to have been something like half of the entire budget for the season. And what's going on here dwarfs. I mean, just absolutely dwarfs. So yeah, this is epic crazy. And there's still more epic crazy to come, apparently. We're going to have to see where things go with this, but we're going to continue talking about there's only 3 episodes left of the season, 5 left for Twin Peaks. So we'll be discussing those next week as well. The next episodes of each of those. For that though, before we go, we have some shows coming up in next week. So Friday, August 11th, 2017. Today, by the time you listen to this podcast, that'll be today. Atypical comes to Netflix and White Gold comes to Netflix. Excited about White Gold because it's a comedy series from the creator of The In-Betweeners with some of the stars from that. It's a very funny British show. This looks like it'll be too.
Nice.
Saturday, August 12th, 2017. DuckTales coming to Disney XD.
Woo!
So excited for DuckTales. Just recently they've been confirming a lot of things like Darkwing Duck is going to appear at some point. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh yes. Childhood. Awesome. Bring it back to me.
Yes, bring it back to me. Yes. I need to relive my childhood.
Sunday, August 13th, 2017. Get Shorty comes to Epix. This is a movie of the same name you probably remember. This is a TV series based on the same book. So it's not an adaptation of the movie, but a new adaptation of the book. Wednesday, August 16th, 2017. Marlon comes to NBC. This is Marlon Wayne-centered comedy series. Friday, August 18th, 2017. The Defenders comes to Netflix. This is one we've been waiting for a while, so this will be exciting.
Yeah, this will definitely be exciting.
If you're wondering when we're going to talk about that, it's probably going to be a few weeks after it comes out because we're a bit busy with Twin Peaks and Game of Thrones. But when Game of Thrones ends, I imagine the next week we'll do a podcast where we're going to be mostly focusing on the Defenders.
Yeah, definitely.
Have some other content come up, like non-video, non-podcast content go up before then, focusing on the Defenders and our early reactions to it and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And a review of the series after it has been fully watched and consumed.
So until next week, you can reach me on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will on Twitter. He is at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. You can subscribe to this podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of this podcast, as well as a ton of video content, like the Game of Thrones videos we mentioned that we do every week where we focus on one aspect of the episode, YouTube channel. So thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more